always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to a gamble. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. With so many casinos within driving distance, maybe you frequented one for a little fun over the weekend. There is so much to learn from those who gamble. Scott Adams from The Joy of Work, published by Harper Business, wrote, "If you are going to create a lot. Creativity is like playing the slot machines, where failure to win means you go home broke. With creativity, if you don't win, you're usually no worse off than if you hadn't played." Scott Adams from The Joy of Work, published by Harper Business. This hour, a gamble with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Fergie and Big Girls Don't Cry. Sarah McLachlan, Fallen, and the Eagles with Desperado. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. I enjoyed the recent remake of the James Bond classic Casino Royale, the one that starred Daniel Craig. Even though we know it's a make-believe scenario, we get caught up in what it would be like to play such high-stakes games. Poker has always been a favorite game for gamblers. Some prefer blackjack, and there are always those who regularly frequent the blackjack tables at a casino. But poker still takes top spot in the hearts of gamblers, both professional and amateur. Texas Hold'em is hot right now and has been for some time. Late-night television is sometimes dominated by professional high-stakes tournaments. Daniel Negreanu in the Detroit News back in '06 wrote, and I quote, "When I first started playing in Vegas against the likes of poker legends Johnny Chan and Doyle Brunson, I was in awe of them. It seemed they could see through my soul and bluff me at will. After getting my feet wet, I realized they couldn't see through my soul at all. They simply made fewer fundamental errors. When a pro puts all of his money on the line into one pot, he'll usually have the best possible hand. Yes, pros take risks, but they do it differently. Most of them look at making tiny bluffs in smaller pots. The strategy is known as chopping away," unquote. What it means is the high-stakes gambler tries to increase the size of his chips with little risk. But occasionally you will see one of them go all in. And there's a lesson there for those who stand on the perimeter watching the game of life, looking for the right opportunity, and others who risk it all on a good hand or a bluff. Lovers and Other Strangers. Kelly Rowland with Unity, Hall & Oates on a Las Vegas turnaround, and a James Bond classic song, Carly Simon, and Nobody Does It Better. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com, and I hope you had a great weekend. A recent lottery prize climbed to $50 million in Canada. In Canada, you win and you get the entire amount in one lump sum, no taxes. And it is an attractive lure for many. We love our lotteries in North America, there's no denying that. We all think that if we won a big prize, life would be wonderful, right? You might be wrong. Back in '07, this appeared in the New York Observer. Evelyn, who won $5.4 million US in the New Jersey lottery in 1985 and 1986, now lives in a trailer. William won $16.2 million in the Pennsylvania lottery in 1988, but now survives on food stamps and his Social Security check. Suzanne, a $4.2 million Virginia lottery winner, is now deeply in debt to a company that lent her money using the winnings as collateral. Unquote. As with any game of chance, play responsibly, know your limit, and of course there are resources available for those with a gambling problem. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Joni Mitchell and Help Me, and the Guess Who, Undun. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Sometime back, Tom Gorman in the Los Angeles Times wrote, "Casinos love slot machines. They are guaranteed moneymakers, typically configured to keep about 5 cents of every $1 wager." Unquote. No wonder they're referred to as one-armed bandits. I was in a casino recently and saw how many people were playing the nickel slots. Maybe a sign of the times. Roger Hall, in a speech and featured in the November 1979 issue of the Reader's Digest, said, "Some people treat life like a slot machine, trying to put in as little as possible and hoping to hit a jackpot. Wiser people think of life as a solid investment from which they receive in terms of what they put in." Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Gordon Lightfoot and Sundown, and 10cc with the Things We Do for Love. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Sidney Greenberg from Jewish Exponent wrote, "We may gamble on outsmarting the law. We may even gamble on the leniency of man and the mercy of God. But no man ever want to gamble with his own conscience. Even should he think he has beaten his conscience into submission, his misdeeds still leave their mark upon him. Anyone who gambles against this fact has already lost his gamble." Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. The Beatles, In the End, David Gates and Bread, Everything I Own, and Sting, If I Ever Lose My Faith in You. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. When it comes to a gamble, you have to calculate the odds. I've been working a lot with tools over the past little while, and if you've recently read my blog, you'll know the reason why. Anne Lamott from Traveling Mercies, published by Pantheon, wrote, I always imagined when I was a kid that adults had some inner toolbox full of shiny tools. The hammer of wisdom, the saw of discernment, the sandpaper of patience. But when I grew up, I found that life handed you these rusty, bent old tools. Friendships, prayer, conscience, honesty, and said, do the best you can with these. They'll have to do. Mostly against all odds. They're enough. Unquote. Anne Lamott from Traveling Mercies, published by Pantheon. And in hindsight, probably the best odds. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.